Well, today is May 27th, Memorial Day. Chris and Erica have both gum in their mouths, but we missed the parade because we had a plumbing problem Ken Julian came up for. But here's Chris and Erica. How was the parade?
Good. Tiring.
What did you do in it?
Not much. Just boring. Just walks and stuff. And I was talking like usual.
Without gum in your mouth, though, huh? Where are you, Erica?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to have an outing here this afternoon, so hopefully it'll stay sunny.
Yeah.
And let's just see, here's what the shrubs look like.
Erica, man, what's up? Jeez, everybody's trying to shut up for some reason. I get it!
He's got pressurized water.
Not for a little while, I
It's
hope.
still on your side, you know.
How about the cedar lessons?
David.
Hi, Dave.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll get some tickets. Good. Whatever you say. This is your community memory.
Yeah, I'll play it. Committee meeting, 7 p.m. May 28th at Rose. We're here to recognize the winners of the science fair, 5th grade.
School committee for Tuesday, May 28th, 1991. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Marszałkowski.
Here.
Mrs. Bynum. Present. Mr. Clem.
Present.
Mr. Amodio.
Present.
Mrs. Gurko.
Please.
Excuse. And Holly Heinzer.
Also excuse me. Mrs. Austin.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank the school committee for inviting us to come this evening. And we held our 5th grade science fair on May 1st at West Street School. Approximately 235 students participated in groups or individually, about 144 projects altogether. We had 14 community representatives as volunteers to do the judging, and I would not want to leave anyone out, so I'd like to just thank them again publicly. We had Mrs. Ann Bynum, Mrs. Florence Chandler, Mr. Robert Chakosky, Mrs. Christine Gurko, Mr. Arthur Kavanaugh, Mrs. Debbie Marcinkowski, Dr. Ralph Monroe, Mr. David O'Brien, Dr. Kenneth Pickering, Mr. V. James Paracchio, Mrs. Rosemary Simmons, Dr. Kay Steen, Ms. Claire Toscas, and Mr. Richard Weeks. We also had State Representative Dave Peters as a judge, too. We have some of our winners here this evening. They weren't all able to be here, but these are first place winners. On the far end is Mr. James Doughton, and his project was on the solar system. Next in the yellow shirt is Christopher Whitney, and his project, he's also the grand prize winner. These are all first place winners. Christopher happens to be the grand prize winner from West Street School. His project was on how sound travels. Next to him in the center is Weston Fonger, and his project is on fossils, right? How are fossils formed? He knows more about fossils than anyone else. In Southbridge, probably. Next to him, the attractive lady is Talia Zepp, and her project was on how do rodents' metabolisms compare to humans? Yes. And next to her, holding down the fort, actually she represents a three-person team, is Lisa Galvin, and she, with Elpida Kemazarides and Melissa Hutchins, did their project on crystals. We're missing this evening Sarah Baker and Tarina Malamar, James Doughton, and Kenny Bashand. All right, their projects also were first place winners. And we're very, very proud of all of them. They brought their trophies with them, their ribbons, and they're ready for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Oscar. Thank you very much, people.
To help make this a successful science fair. I'd also like to thank the 12 judges, and I'd like to read them so I don't miss anyone. Florence Chandler, Robert Chakosky, Dr. James Hughes, Mr. James Jalbert, Mr. Ken Korch, Mrs. Judith O'Brien, Mr. Ken Pickering, Mr. Peter Ramirez, Mr. Paul Ramian, Mr. Kenneth Risner, Dr. Kay Steen, and Ms. Claire Costas. The winners of the science fair are first place Amanda Austin with Is Wetter Better on hydroponics. Second place winner was Erica Kaleza on the M&M Meltdown. Our third place winner, who couldn't be here tonight, is Christy Valley on safety lenses. And our fourth place winner is Joel Treat in What is a Muscle Turbine.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, tonight we thought we'd just reenact what you've said, so why don't you tell us what your project was all about? If whiskers will stay out of the way. Erica, why don't you get whiskers, okay?
Come on.
Tell me a little bit about your project.
Well, for my project, I did how does sound travel. But 3 things are needed for a sound to be heard, like a vibrating object, something to carry the sound, like air and water, and a listener, someone to hear the sound. And I have a vibrating object here, which is called a tuning fork. You can see it vibrate, but you can also hear it, but it's faded a little bit. But you can hear it much here. But also the pitch changes. That is because that is because this tuning fork is vibrating, the box is vibrating, and the air inside is vibrating. I also have a wine glass here. My project is how does sound travel. But 3 things are needed for sound to be heard, like a vibrating object, someone to carry the sound, like air and water, and a listener, someone to hear the sound. I have here a vibrating object, which is called a tuning fork. You can see it vibrate. Also, you can hear it, but it's a little bit faint. But you can hear it much, much louder if you put it on this piece of wood. The pitch changes. That's because the tuning fork is vibrating, the box is vibrating, and the air inside is vibrating. And I also have another vibrating object, which is a wine glass. That is because the wine glass is vibrating, but the more water there is in it, the lower the pitch. The less water there is in it, the higher the pitch. And also sound can travel in different speeds. Like air is 1,129 feet per second, whereas stone is almost 20,000 feet per second. So that is a big difference. Also, you think of sound as like a wave. If you with the rope, that you can think of that as a wave, but really a wave is being traveled like this, back and forth. The molecules are being pushed back and forth when we're talking to each other, when people talk to each other. That's how sound is really being traveled. Also, there's something called the Doppler effect, where if you're standing away from like a locomotive, an automobile, or even a boat, let's say a locomotive. If you're standing away from it, it will sound like this. The pitch will change. That's because as it comes toward you, all the molecules are being pushed together. But as it goes away from you, all the molecules are being spread apart. And that's the Doppler effect. And also, have you ever seen a plane over here, but you really hear it over here? Well, that's because the sound can't catch up to the light, because the light is 186,000 miles per second, whereas sound in air is only 1,129 feet per second. So that is a very big difference in that. And also, if you're standing on a cliff and you yell out something, that's being reflected sound, like an echo. If you say something like, hello, 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 it will echo you. It will repeat the sound. That's because the sound is being bounced off things. And also, have you ever heard of a band shell? Well, if not, a band shell is almost like a walnut shell. That's where a band plays. And that's because they have a band shell is because they want the music, the noise, to go out to the audience. They don't want it to be wasted out in back of them. They want it towards the audience because they don't want it to be wasted. And that's my project, How to Sound Travel.
Oh, he did a very good job, and that's kind of a summary of what he did for the 5th grade science fair. And what day is today? It's Tuesday night,
May 28th.
May 28th, 1991. You won it, I think, on May 1st. So we're all proud of you, and you did a good job in spite of the interruption by the cat.
Yeah, thank you.
June 1st, and what, Debbie Sichels in the afternoon for pictures.
Oops, sorry, did I scratch it?
You gonna do it with the teddy bear? Because that's kind of cute.
Maybe just a little.
Want to hold your dress? Okay, and hold your skirt.
Where's the camera?
See a smile now.
Big smile right here.
Smile.
Good.
Good.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah, that's good right there. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Now point your toes. She too low or? She's lucky. Okay, now let's see. Let's be creative here. You lean down on this side. Put your legs over.
What?
Yeah. Okay, you lean down on this side. Put your legs up and up. I want you guys hold hands. There. Let's see. You come over here, honey. You girls push up just to move a little bit. Okay, you three. Put your arm down and count. Now, can you bend over like this? Okay, not too much, just up a little bit.
People won't, well, okay, yeah. What's her name?
Okay, now let's see. You put your hand around Eric. There we go. Put your hand back. Okay, now take your hand off of her shoulder and put it down. All right, now everybody put your feet together.
Aaron. Yeah, that one right there, the one in the middle. Right.
Me. Good.
Good. Carolyn,
another
you
one.
stay up a little bit. Don't bend quite so much, honey.
Maggie, bend a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe you bend.
Bend over a little bit.
That's
With your
it.
chin up.
Okay, everybody, look over here.
Good. Right here.
Bend,
1,
Aaron.
2,
Bend,
3.
honey.
Good.
Let's see, it's June 2nd, and Chris is in the background looking at some of the pictures of past recitals.
Dad.
Hold on. Hold on.
You.
See, Erica? Erica, don't. Now these are the pictures
My dance recital. I'll
of the
show you
dance
mine.
recital.
Well, this is me and Alyssa.
Alyssa and I.
Alyssa and I.
Oh, yeah. When was,
And this was in 1989, and this was in 1990. And this one was in 1988. So that was the first one I took. And then this one, and then this one. And
Very good, very
I'm going
good.
to have 2 more for this year.
yeah.
Because I take 2 classes. This one was in 1990 when we did Hangin' Tough. This one was in 1990 also when I did With All the Girls Don't Worry, Be Happy. And this one was in 1989